to conclude our news review this morning. And of course, just before the break, we were discussing the chaos within Jubilee in different counties as they try to elect their election board members. Now I want to switch to the other side of NASA, but before that, there's a very interesting headline on page 8 of the Daily Nation, and politicians handed more time to defect. Now, Council of Governors moved to court to challenge the changes on the law. Now, the High Court has extended orders allowing politicians to operate within the previous law that gives them up to 45 days before polls to defect, because the new law gives that period for defection. It cannot go beyond 100 days, 120 days. That's 4 months to the elections, which is 8th of April.
Right.
Yes, 8th of April, that according to the law as it is, which has been challenged in court, so that has been opened, but the matter is coming back for hearing in court next week on Wednesday. It could change. Yes, but if it doesn't, it means politicians will have until towards the end of June to jump ship after the nominations. And from what we are seeing, I think my whole panel is in agreement with that, yes, there will be an issue, if at all. Do you think this law should be allowed to just be the way it is, 45 days to the election?
You know, somebody made a very good observation, and he said, the time you see the opposition and the current administration agreeing on anything, be very careful.
Yes.
On this law, they agreed. Raila Odinga and President Uhuru Kenyatta agreed on this law. So really that, everybody sat back and said, hey, for the first time they agreed on something. Now, the problem is when you box people in, does not necessarily translate that these people will not do anything. If I am running against my good friend, Deputy Governor here, and I feel as if the election, or whatever the nomination, whatever it is, has not gone my way, there is no charge or an umbrella of loyalty that you can hold on my head for me to support him. Actually, I can jump on the other divide and support the other person. That's why I thought this law, whoever came with it, really did not think much about it. Number one, it's not even democratic. If you are truly a democratic person, allow somebody, give them the freedom, let them give them a free reign, let them choose whoever, and even if it's 2 days, and somebody wants to defect, that is their right. Let them do that. But if, in fact, even involving the courts, I don't see why we should go through that fiasco. All right? Let that law be done away with. And actually, if you look at it right now, many politicians are actually wondering, why did we even have that law, including current legislators?
You really counted on this, that after the nominations and no one can jump ship. Now it appears it will not work. So parties like PNU will benefit in that region of Mount Kenya, really.
It has its good side and its bad side. And that is why you're saying now smaller parties like PNU, Maendeleo, Chap getting people to go their way, because the good side to it is that you might get some of this sorted out by nomination, but the bad side to it is if somebody loses by simple majority of 10 votes, 20 votes, is simple majority, they might get their lieutenants not to vote in the general election. So there could be voter apathy, which is a serious case, because then if two strong people fight it out in the nomination and one pulls out or is beaten, he will get his people not to vote. So voter apathy is something that we should
agree on across the political divide.
I want to a bit differ with my colleagues here that we need party discipline. Party discipline where people, if you have decided to join Jubilee, be a strong supporter of Jubilee, and subscribe to ideals.
Even when the nominations are not conducted to your side.
Now that I'm coming there.
Totally. That's a very good.
What I'm saying is that we have to, because political parties, they're clubs. Therefore, you must subscribe to the ideologies of those parties. The only hindrance is at this kind of chaos, where people, they feel that they are disillusioned completely. Therefore, it's a good thing. 45 days to election. If you are
that 2-month period is necessary.
If you are unfairly been put out of the race, you look for another appropriate party to run. There are people even who have run independent and they made it simply because they were either locked out in their political parties or somebody went and, like Manzo, you remember last time he ran away with the certificate. They are such kind of the people who will decide who have proper links.
He sold his party then ran
away with the certificate of
but Manzo, this breather, the 2-month breather, that is what politicians have been looking for.
Well, they have, but the question is, whatever happens, whatever law is made in the country, is it constitutional? And I think that's a question the court is trying to address, whether that law aligns with the constitution. Because if it doesn't, then it will become null and void. But again, Kenya has been having a big problem of political indiscipline.
As a lawyer, would you argue that it's unconstitutional?
Well, to the extent that it limits rights of association. But if it doesn't, what it's simply telling you is, by this time, make up your mind where you want to belong, what ideology you subscribe to. Then that's what it's telling you. Make up your mind where you belong. Once you make up your mind where you belong, don't change. Stick to that ideology for that particular period. After that, of course, you are free to change. So that elections are organized. So for me, I do actually support the party leaders. I do for that one. I support CORD leaders and the Jubilee leaders. That there must be party discipline. Decide you are in this party. What we must make sure is there is free and fair nomination. The moment you lose in nomination, if the people don't like you, don't force yourself through another entity. You will still lose.
What if the nominations are bungled?
If the nominations are bungled, then you have the political parties tribunal and even the party itself. Once it sees that it's not been fair, it should be able to sort it out within the party, give you a chance to repeat, and then the people will decide. Because at the end of the day, the people are the ones who decide.
But Wanjiru, your thoughts on this?
Well, let me say, and maybe I support my colleague Simba Arati. You have to be very loyal to your party. That is a must. And me, I'm so loyal to my party as a Jubilee. I have no worry at all, 100%. But there is also one problem. When you see this kind of hooligan, sometimes it brings problem. Let me give an example. A real one from Gatanga. Gatanga, it was stronghold for Peter Kenneth. They were saying that is the constituency which have done best in the Kenya. That's what they were saying. Yes, just let me finish, because I don't want to comment because I'm from Gatanga. What I'm saying. The second, it was the place where there was a big wind of TNA for President Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta. Is it true? We agree on that. But when they did, and they put want to put somebody whom the people never wanted. Somebody came in a very different party, calling himself Rohosafi. And he was elected, beating the wave of Peter Kenneth, beating the wave of the president, and he was elected. So what we are saying, some areas are good, but some areas, I agree with Simba, that some areas are not very good when these things start coming, hooligans, and also maybe when you see that the people who are in the top trying to favor a candidate, automatically we all bring to A. You see somebody is favoring Arati, then what are you waiting? Then you have to move and see what can I be able to do after seeing it was with it bad. So I'm saying some areas it's bad, but some areas, if the parties are strong and they have the machineries of free and fair nomination, I think people should not fear. They should strengthen their party. They should be loyal to their party. They should be loyal to their candidate, who is presidential candidate. So and I think for such people like me, I have no problem at all, because I like the party. You know, I've been in Kano for 10 years.
If the nominations are bungled in Bahati, for Bahati constituency, would you consider jumping ship?
Me, no.
You just give up.
I'm not interested anymore.
Okay. That's the litmus test. That's the litmus test. People don't hate losing.
Yes.
When you lose fairly, you accept. You know, even in football matches, when there's a pure and a genuine loss, you accept. When you're talking about nominations being mangled, that's why people jump ship.
Yes.
You saw, and again, this is a good case study. You saw in Kajiado Central, Mambusi and Tutui, what happened? You know, The nominations exactly went the same way you've actually alluded to.
Yes.
And what did Memusi do? Memusi left, went to ODM, and won the election. So that just tells you, when there is a platform of fairness, even when somebody loses. They accept. But since when do you remember in Kenya, when did we ever have something called fair nominations?
Wow.
That is why I'm telling you, it's a litmus test for both Jubilee and for NASA.
Let me say this, because Honorable Gujiri has mentioned Gatanga, and I was a candidate in that Bagad nomination. I was a candidate in that nomination. And when it was mishandled, we had our political constituents, and we told them and we guided them that it cannot go against their will. And that is why the TNA candidate lost in Gatanga.
Okay. Wow. Anyway, Justice Mativo is expected to rule on this matter on Wednesday next week, hence the extension. It's only an extension for 1 week until the matter is substantively handled, determined, hard and determined. So after that, things could change, but as it is right now, politicians could, after the nomination, still jump ship until probably towards the end of June.
Correct.
That could change next week. We just have to wait and see. Now, our final headline has to do with NASA. Now, the National Super Alliance plans a busy weekend to quell mounting concerns over the unity of its principles. Now, today NASA will rally at the Masindo grounds in Mathare constituency before joining to Tononoka grounds in Mombasa on Sunday. The four opposition coalition leaders have been shrugging off talk of divisions, even as a critical meeting they had convened on Tuesday failed to take off amid conflicting explanations. This story by Francis Gashuri.
Opposition Chief Raila Odinga was expected in Mombasa today to close the second annual legislative summit that brought together members of the county assemblies, senators and other devolution stakeholders. While no explanation was given for his absence, the friction witnessed in the National Super Alliance over the mode of picking its flag bearer in the August polls could not be ruled out, his handlers only saying Odinga was busy in Nairobi with meetings and preparations for NASA's public rally tomorrow. The rally that will be held at Masinda grounds in Mathare constituency will be Odinga's first public engagement since his return from South Africa and USA early in the week. While he was away, one of his coalition partners, Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka, was through his allies laying claim to the NASA presidential ticket, citing a memorandum of understanding signed between his party and Odinga's ODM, designating the former premier as a one-term president who would hand over to the former vice president to try his luck in the subsequent election.
There was an agreement signed by both lawyers of ODM and Wiper that 2013 they support Raila Odinga, and 2017 they support Kalonzo Musyoka. It's an issue that has brought some discomfort, and it has to be addressed because the Kamba nation is waiting for their son to be crowned the flag bearer.
But Odinga and his supporters have repeatedly insisted there was no MOU to implement since he did not clinch the presidency in 2013, and since CORD had been absorbed into NASA, the pre-2013 deal was no longer tenable. The task of identifying NASA's presidential contender assigned to the coalition's National Coordinating Committee.
We are in that committee to bring into that committee the issues we need to discuss. That doesn't mean in and of itself there is a problem with those issues. But if you read it that one member has said this, we are all politicians. One person will say this today, one person will say that tomorrow. But the reason why we are a committee of different people who think in different ways is to come together and create that consensus.
Tomorrow's rally and a similar one scheduled to take place in Mombasa on Sunday will be used to assuage fears of a fallout and demonstrate to the opposition supporters that their leaders remain united.
This is serious business. Huu si mchezo. Na sisi kama wana NASA, we are ready to stand together. Hata hii NASA joto ikiwa namna gani kwa hiyo hema, tutabaki hapo hapo tu.
But all eyes will be on Musyoka, with his commitment in NASA being questioned. Some of his critics claim he has one foot outside the opposition coalition.
Those propagandists, naysayers, kama kuna mtu atatoka NASA sio Kalonzo ni pengine nyinyi.
Yeah, that story by Francis Gashuri is what we want to discuss now. And we do have a Wiper Party official, the Secretary for Foreign Affairs in Wiper Party, Bonadan Maanzo, and People Makueni.
Yes.
Now, Bwana Kalonzo Musyoka has received a lot of flack.
Yes.
Yeah. In fact, he appears to be the only one whose commitment in NASA has been questioned. No one is questioning Mudavadi's commitment. No one is questioning Moses Wetangula's or Raila Odinga's commitment to NASA. But your party leader, everyone questions. Then the minority leader in the National Assembly, Francis Nyeze, comes out and he says, seems to bring this issue of entitlement, that your party leader is entitled to that position. Don't you think it is a problem? Don't you think that the continued headlines about your party leader being the weakest link in NASA could actually hurt NASA?
First, I don't think he's the weakest link. He's the strongest link.
I'm saying about the headlines, the continued headlines.
Yes, there has been that, and the MOU is, you know, could be still outstanding. But remember, we have now a team of 12 persons, eminent members of NASA, who are looking at the issue of the candidacy. And more important is that he stated it clearly, and we know it as his followers, that we are in NASA to stay. None of us will leave NASA, and in fact, he's the glue of NASA. Yes, Dr. Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka, His Excellency, the party leader of Wiper, is the glue of NASA, and he stated it clearly that he's not going to leave NASA. So it has been wishful thinking of Jubilee that Kalonzo Musyoka and his team will leave NASA, and I can assure you what we have told him, that if he was ever to imagine leaving NASA, then he will leave alone. We will stay in NASA ourselves, and that tells you, if I'm in NASA, I can assure you Kalonzo Musyoka is in NASA to stay. So we will be there. We will wait for the outcome of the deliberations of the candidature, but most important, the bigger challenge of both coalitions, and more especially NASA, is the voters register. So long as the voters register is not cleaned up and the stakeholders do not participate to do so in the leadership of IBC, then nothing will change. It doesn't matter who becomes the NASA candidate, they will still lose to Jubilee. And in fact, there is no need to conduct elections in August 8th if that register is not agreed upon, and it is not clean, and it remains with a lot of dead voters who will still vote. Then the election is already rigged. So that's a fundamental issue to be addressed, even before you talk of the presidential candidate, before you talk of strength. Even if it is Raila as the candidate, who is going to be the candidate, whether Kalonzo, Raila, Musalia, Wetangula, so long as the register is not clean, it's a waste of time.
Maanzo, what we're handling today are the headlines, and the headlines seem to suggest on what's on the screen. NASA leaders set to hold crisis meeting of a cancelled poll tender. They seem to say there was to be a meeting on Tuesday. It failed on Wednesday. It flopped on Thursday. It didn't happen. Today is Friday. It might not happen again. So they're still hoping to get another meeting at the weekend. Surely there must be a problem here.
There isn't. There is no problem, because what happens is there is a problem, yes, which has been created by Jubilee and its handlers. It's Jubilee. One, you know, and I like what Kalonzo has just said, that the propagandist, you know, you have said Kalonzo could be our weakest.
The headlines have said.
But can I tell you, our weakest point is our strongest point, and that could be Kalonzo.
Yes.
Because there's been a lot of propagandas around that, oh, Jubilee, the president has met with the Kalonzo, and that there is an offer of around 2.6 billion for Kalonzo to do what? To cross over.
Yes.
It's good that Kalonzo is, you know, dismissing those claims. Therefore, what we're saying here is a whole team of our friends in Jubilee wanting to see, because they know it's only NASA sending them home. If they manage to get one of them, you know, they will, you know, they create chaos within ourselves. But I can assure you, today they're talking about today we have a rally at Masinde Mrilu Gardens. Sunday will be in Mombasa.
All the principals will attend today?
They will be there. They'll be there. I can tell you the wishful thinking, like my brother said.
Yes.
It's going to work.
Yes. Well, Deputy Governor, of course, Jubilee, yes, at some point you're seen to be angling to try and entice at least one of those four principals. And Bwana Kalonzo Musyoka, in one of those headlines, was said to, yes, be being targeted by Jubilee. Why is that? Why does he seem to be the weakest link from your side of the political divide?
One, and you'll take my word, there will never be NASA towards the end. And this I'll tell you with all the political strength that I may have. They have missed, what to say, there's never a second time to make the first impression. They met in Bomas, they did not mention their leader. They met in Bomet, they did not mention their leader. They are struggling to get who their leader will be. And in the process of this struggle, it is coming out very clear. A meeting is called, one runs to Dubai, the other one is where. And I can tell you clearly, there will be no NASA. And eventually, the old MOU, and it's good Honorable Maanzo has mentioned it. The old memorandum of understanding that was put in 2012 will come to haunt them as it's pulled out of the drawers, saying we had agreed that I support you in 2013 and then you support me in 2017. So I can tell you for sure. It's not that Jubilee is so interested in any of those candidates, but there will be no NASA. If they feel very comfortable, and they are most welcome to Jubilee, whoever would want to join us, because that's a winning team. Yes.
Do you agree that Bwana Kalonzo has been targeted by Jubilee?
Let me tell you, 101%, we are not interested in Kalonzo. And we are going to win this election without Kalonzo. We don't need him. We have our own structures. We don't need him. This is just propaganda from ODM themselves, bringing this propaganda. That so and so, when they want to beat one candidate, they start saying Kalonzo was in the State House, he met with the president. It is just within themselves. We believe we have nothing to do with these people. We are waiting like yesterday, on 8th, to go for election. Also we are ready. So these are just propaganda for these people themselves. Jubilee, we have no interest to discuss about ODM. Let them, or NASA, let them NASA themselves and organize themselves. They are not interested. So the point they are trying to put, that we are trying to get one. We are not. Let me tell you, me, I'm very close with my president, I'm very close with the party. We are not interested. We want without them. The last time. We want without them. So for now, trying to say ABCD, I don't agree with that. Second, trying to say that they are together. My friend, I agree with the deputy governor. Let me tell you, sitting people and meeting being together, you can read from the way they are doing it. That I can comment. These people are not together. Lastly, the candidate of neither NASA or DB or what, or NASA or ODM, and I'll give you 1 million. I'll put in the table here. The candidate is Raila Odinga.
Because they're willing to bet $1 million into that.
1 million. I'll put here. The reason why, this man has people. If you go everywhere, you see him with the people. He is strong on the ground. He's very active on the ground. The issue of saying I'll be left with these seats, it is not in vocabulary of Raila or ODM.
I just want to clarify that first and foremost. The Honorable Kalonzo Musyoka had a very serious meeting in Dubai. You know, it's structured and planned before even this other. So you cannot keep on throwing aspersions that he was running away. He wasn't. He's back. He's here. He was here. He's back last night.
Because of time.
Today you'll attend the NASA meeting. And you know, and again, it can never be bought. I can assure you, there is no someone who will never take a bribe. Is the Honorable Dr. Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka.
And because of time, we want
never be bought by
give the final word to the analyst, Bwana Gabriel Muduma, to give at least some sanity to that debate.
Number one, never listen to when a politician tells you never. This cannot happen. No, we are here to. No. Because before you say cut and a half, Nick Salat was telling us tuko ndani. A few weeks later, he was telling us tuko inje. You see, NASA was actually a very good propulsion, a good gathering. But NASA was brought together by Raila Odinga. Raila is a very good strategist. At this point, everybody else is playing number two. Justifiably so, because what Mheshimiwa has said. Raila really has that enigma, as they call it. He has the national outlook. ODM, so to speak, had more legislators, including governors, allied to CORD, than any other party, including Jubilee. That just gives you a slight hint. Come look at the MCAs in Nairobi. ODM leads in it. Okay, Raila is not prepared to give all that to somebody who does not have a national outlook. So when you look at somebody like Kalonzo Musyoka is actually in between a hard rock and you know, between a hard place, and you know, he's not seated pretty. Yes. He's a hard place and between a rock and a hard place. What he's trying to do is create a mileage to be number 2, and he knows he has to be number 2. If that fails, both of them, when you look at Musalia, when you look at Kalonzo and Raila, the time factor, the age factor is not with them. So here you must replicate something that must ensure you capture power. But if you look at the recent polls that we are looking into, for you to outseat an incumbent, you're looking at about 10, 15, 20 points above. Uhuru and Ruto are still leading. And never downplay the powers of an incumbent. Never at one point. So when you come to look at the gratifying political element, and people are telling you NASA is looking for is an accident looking for a place to happen, is the way Raila has pulled the magic wand, okay, pulling everybody with him. Unless he realizes, unless the 3 other principles realizes that this is a stage that Raila is setting, then it's going to be a serious misfortune on their political careers. Unless they decide to do what Mutahi said, they put Raila into a political altar. And if they decide to bolt, then probably he can play ball. But at this point, nobody has the numbers. 0. Nobody has the numbers.
Wow.
So really, I would be shocked. I would be shocked. I'm not saying it's impossible, but I would be shocked if NASA is still intact by July.
Wow. He says, Bwana Gabriel Muduma, a political analyst, says that NASA is an accident looking for a place to happen. On that note, we end our news review this morning. Thank you so much, Bwana Gabriel Muduma, political analyst. Next to him, Bwana Gakure Monyo, Deputy Governor Muranga, Simbarati MP for Dagoretti North, Bwana Dan Manzo, MP for Makueni, and Kimani Ngonjiri, MP for Bahati constituencies. A very huge news review panel this Friday, but very informative. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for agreeing to come to this news review. Remember, Power Breakfast still continues. My colleagues Willis Raburu and Joy Mudenge still have a lot to cover on this show. My name is Fred Ndimuli from It's Good Morning, but now I leave you with more music from Michael Kitanda and the UV Band.